sci-fi and action thrill. Reviewing new TV shows, we keep it real. Reminiscing the attitude era, wrestling at its peak. Nostalgia from the 80s and 90s, memories we seek. Pineapples for our rings, a unique touch. Geek culture in our blood, we love it so much. Geek Blue forever, we love it so much. Geek Blue, where we talk about it all, from superheroes to wrestlers. We stand tall, Ray and Kevin, the dynamic duo in sight. Geek Blue, shining bright, shining bright. Did you hear about Pluto? That's messed up, right? Geek Blue, taking you on a nostalgia flight. From movies to TV, we cover it all. Join us every week, we'll have a ball. Shuffle.
Hey, what's going on?
Well, Raymond, we have officially hit rock bottom as a fandom. My timeline today has been filled with a certain segment of the DC audience very, very angry that there is a GoFundMe to send underprivileged children to see Superman. They are very angry about this GoFundMe that is trying to send 15,000 underprivileged kids to go to the fucking movies to see a goddamn Superman film. Besides that, I'm doing great though. You know, hanging in there.
So Twitter hasn't changed.
Yes. That
Actually,
is
more-
correct. Also,
Getting more violent.
the gooning going on has gotten to the point where Sydney Sweeney has partnered with Dr. Squatch
I saw
to
that.
sell soap that is infused with her own bath water. As a society, this is where we're at in the big 2025.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to sell out. Limited edition, 5,000.
Yep, 5,000 units. Yeah, that's going to sell out the day it releases.
Yes. People are going to buy that. So, Kevin, how much was it? How much did you pay?
All right, on to the show.
Let's jump into the show. We got a lot to talk about. Superman-centric, of course. We are, God, very, very close. So close so you can taste it. Previews are happening.
Mm-hmm.
Screenings are happening. Fan events are going to be happening. They're doing a tour of this. They're doing a tour of the whole entire cast starting probably this weekend going into July 11th. We'll be talking about Superman in a little bit, but let's talk about what we watched this week. Quickly going to give my reaction to Mobland. Great show again. If you're not watching it, watch it. This is the penultimate episode. This Sunday is the finale. So if you would like to watch this when it all comes out, it comes out on Sunday. It's been great. Tom Hardy at his best. Pierce Brosnan, I think, in one of his best roles. And he was James Bond.
Yeah.
And he is amazing in the show. Yeah, great. And we had a finale last weekend. And we're probably going to have to wait another 2 years for this to continue. But The Last of Us season
4 years out from this show ending. That's tremendous, the way things are going these days.
She's going to be 47. Like, made sure. Well,
like Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man.
Yes. But it was good, and I don't know anything about the game, and I know it was very much on par with what happened in the game. And I know, did you get this far in the game, or are you already?
Oh yeah, I know, okay. I know what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah. I had a feeling before the season started, this is the end. This would be where the show ends. This season, anyways. Right. And it was only confirmed by fucking what's his name, continuously saying, "I'm not the one that's gonna die." Like, he said that shit like 15 times the episode, and I'm like,
right.
Yep. Foreshadowing much?
Yeah, but from what I hear, the whole entire episode was accurate from beginning to end.
Except for the issue this show has is it takes roughly, I want to say, 13 hours of gameplay to get to where we got, and they told it technically in they told her Seattle story in 91 minutes throughout 7 episodes. So when she takes off her shirt in the game, you had already gone through a bunch of shit, but in the show they skip all that and she's just bruised up for no reason. But I don't really care. I enjoyed it. People
it didn't bother me at all.
People just like to complain on the internet because it's not exactly how it once was.
I didn't notice it at all. I figured she was just going through a bunch of shit.
That's exactly
knocked out of a boat.
Yeah, exactly. She's gotten the shit kicked out of her obviously a couple times. So, but people just want to complain.
It's the internet, Twitter. As you started the show, it's Twitter and the internet. But great. So the finale was great. Left off with a big, huge cliffhanger, and Abby's going to be the season 3 going forward. Probably, like I said, in 2 years when this actually releases. Unfortunately, because it takes a while for these to come out. But
pretty much.
No Joel. Will be Abby and Ellie going forward, and all and Dina and everybody else, all the guest stars. And I like his brother too, Tommy, who's
homie from Terminator, Diego Luna.
No, that's the other guy. Diego Luna is not Sanchez. No, I can't remember his name. Gabriel
Sanchez.
No, I don't remember what it is, but just know he's a great actor. He played Ghost Rider in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He was, like you said, he was in Terminator. So, another great episode of Dark Side, and unfortunately, it was the finale on Muhammad Hassan. You said you weren't watching during this time.
I was not. That was when I was in college. We didn't have cable.
Right. All brand new to you about this guy, but he was huge for 2 years or so.
I remember hearing his name a lot during that time period.
Yeah, skyrocketed right to the top just because of this heel angle of him being this Arab character, actually being Italian.
From Syracuse, New York, as Jim Cornette says multiple times.
Yeah. Jim Cornette is great on this show. It's built for him.
Tremendous.
It should be called Jim Cornette's Dark Side of the Ring.
Yeah, it really should.
But it's great, and just every single story this season has been great, and learning the backlash of what was going on, which we already knew. The London bombings that happened, this character had been around for about 1.5 years, 2 years, I think. And when the London bombings, terrorism happened, they fired him, and he lost his wrestling career. It was taken out from under him, and he was, for the most part, he was over as a heel. Everybody fucking hated him, but he was great in the ring, fast, young guy. He was 22, 23.
Yeah, he was 24 by the time he was out of wrestling. Yeah. It's insane that they didn't just repackage him, take him off TV for a year and repackage him.
They told him that they didn't want to. He had actually mentioned that in the documentary, that they said we can't repackage you because you just have a familiar face. Everybody's going to say, that's Muhammad Hassan. Who are you going to be, the Italian mobster? What are you going to be next? So, another great season, Dark Side of the Ring.
Not sure
always at the end of the season, we always say, is there going to be more? What other stones can they unturn that we don't know of characters in this show? What haven't they tackled yet? Maybe we'll do some research and kind of come up with ideas.
They could do an entire season on Vince, but that already got taken care of by Netflix.
Right, but see, Netflix didn't tackle it enough,
because they only had a little bit of time to do it. So I mean,
get an unbiased opinion on that. I think we can. Yeah,
I assume the next season, if there is one, will have a Vince. I think it would be kind of cool if instead of doing like they did the Chris Benoit in 2 parts, do the Vince in 2 parts, but bookend the season. The first episode, and then end it with the last episode, and the first episode maybe being like his rise, and then the last episode covering everything. Something like that. I don't know.
I think you're right on. They could easily,
or maybe the first one covering the steroid stuff, the steroid trial stuff, and then the second one could be doing. I think it'd be cool if they bookended it with the Vince McMahon stuff.
It's the biggest story in wrestling in the last decade.
Maybe ever. Maybe ever.
Yeah. I mean, it's a huge story, and it took mainstream by storm just because of all the money that was blown out of the pocket of the WWE at the time. But looking forward to see if this is picked up for another season, another 10 episodes. I cannot wait to see if they do something with it. That'd be cool. Watched the movie. Wasn't that good. Looked great. Fountain of Youth. This is on Apple TV. This is directed by Guy Ritchie.
Yeah, I've heard it's basically Indiana Jones 3. is basically what I was told. It's essentially it's like a bad version of that movie.
It's paying homage to Indiana Jones for sure.
Yeah.
In fact, I think John Krasinski's father's name was Harrison.
Yeah.
It goes that deep into it, but yeah, it's Indiana Jones National Treasure. It's pretty much everything I said it was last week.
I was excited for it until I heard people talking about it after they watched it, and I decided to take a pass.
The worst part about it is the acting. Horrible acting.
Even from Krasinski?
Krasinski was the worst, actually, to be honest.
And
I like Krasinski. I love The Office, but he was bad in this. Guy Ritchie does not know how to direct people. And he has that problem with a lot of his movies, directing
he has the George Lucas effect.
Yes, yeah. And it definitely fell in this movie. The concept is great. They're looking for the Fountain of Youth, and there is a sci-fi element at the end, which is kind of cool. There's some cool parts to it, and like you mentioned, I love like the Indiana Jones National Treasure part of it all, but the acting was horrible. Donald Gleason was okay in it. He's a great actor too, but some of the twists and turns came out of nowhere and just kind of weird. The acting was horrible too, but probably like a 3 out of 5. It was okay, kind of right down in the middle. Well, it wasn't good, it wasn't bad, right down middle. It's on Apple TV if you do want to watch it, but just be warned. Something great came out last weekend. Watched both of these. Came out in 2 parts. Documentary called Pee-wee as Himself. This is on Max HBO, and it was fantastic.
Nice.
This was filmed a couple of years prior to him passing. So he had brought a documentary guy in to film him, do all the interviews for it. And about a year before before he died, he told the he got kind of in a squabble with the guy who was directing the documentary, and he stopped doing any video for it, not knowing what was going on behind the scenes, but that he was in the thralls of his cancer treatment.
Right.
And even the director, he had no idea when Pee Wee Herman died, when Paul Rubens died, he had no idea he was going through all this. He kept it secret from everybody. Like Norm Macdonald did it. Chadwick Boseman did it. Pee Wee Herman did it too. Nobody knew that he was dealing with this behind the scenes except for a few people, his friends and stuff. But, and then fast forward, he calls up the day before he dies, and does a voice memo to him, kind of telling what his legacy, wants his legacy of this documentary to be. And they actually air that in the last 5 minutes of this documentary. And you can hear the frailness in his voice. This is literally 24 hours before he passed. This is a great documentary. 2 parts, came out on HBO Max. You should watch it. And it got me to watch something I never watched with him. Because I didn't realize it was produced by Judd Apatow, who I fucking love. I love Judd Apatow.
We both do, yeah.
Yeah. I want to talk about the documentary a little bit. I forgot I had notes on it, but tackled his 70s artistry, the Groundlings, coming up with Phil Hartman. Talked a lot about that. That was great. And Pee-wee was on the dating game in the 70s before his fame, and in character, which was funny as hell to actually see the footage of that. He debuted as an actor in Cheech and Chong's next movie, which was the second Cheech and Chong movie after Up in Smoke. He had an HBO special, which made him a household name. It was kind of R-rated, PG-13 on the line. It wasn't the Pee-wee's Playhouse that we knew growing up, or I knew. And he took the method acting of Pee Wee Herman during this whole entire run of him, Pee Wee Herman. He locked himself in his house. Nobody knew him as Paul Rubens. He was only seen out in public as Pee Wee Herman, and he went method for like at least 10 years. And every televised appearance in the 80s, going on Letterman, honing that act, and becoming a household name, and he kept it up in public as well. And then CBS came calling and offered him to be a morning host of a TV show for kids called Pee-wee's Playhouse, which we talked about before in the past. I was a huge fan of it. It was my childhood. And he was kind of hesitant about it because, like I mentioned, the HBO special was R-rated. And he was going to be going into a G-rated kids television universe and taking that character. He was kind of worried, but it worked for him. Made millions of dollars, made a living off of it. And then in 1991, he decided to go to a movie theater after Pee-wee's Playhouse was canceled. and decided to sit in the theater of a sex movie theater. And there was a sting operation going on, and he got caught literally with his pants down.
Oh, Pee-wee.
Oh, Pee-wee. What a perfect name. And that's exactly it was funny because they're showing all the news clips that was going on during the time. It wasn't Paul Rubens got arrested. It was Pee-wee Herman got arrested. So, yeah, it was not looking good for him. All the Playhouse reruns were canceled by CBS. The protests were going on all around the country defending him. He actually showed up at the 1991 MTV Movie Awards in character for the last time and kind of thanked everybody that was protesting for him and thanked the audience and everything. And he had a huge standing ovation. So a lot of people were like, the way it sounded like Pee-wee wasn't really doing anything. It was just a standard operation at one of those movie theaters, and he was just happened to be sitting in the audience. Supposedly, I mean, who knows? He could have been diddling himself, but that was always what the media was going
right.
By. Late 90s, he became a movie star. Starred in Buffy the Vampire Slayer the movie. Was in Batman Returns again with Tim Burton because Tim Burton did Big Adventure.
Yep.
So he brought him in to play the Penguin's father. In
I forgot
Batman
all about
Returns.
that. I always forget about that. Every time I watch it, I'm like, oh shit, that is Pee-wee Herman, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yep. And then he was in Blow. Did a great job in Blow.
Oh, he was awesome.
Mystery Men. Yeah, Mystery Men. I think Blow may be his best work besides Pee-wee.
Yeah. I remember Mystery Men was like big for me because I was like, that's the guy that used to be Pee-wee Herman.
Yeah.
When I saw that in theaters.
Yeah, he played like somebody that was like a stinky man or stench man. I can't remember what the fuck it was. Flatulence, I can't remember. So 10 years later, he got accused for child pornography, and it was all a farce. Somebody came after him because he had all this like male. He had a whole collection of male porn, I guess you could say. So
he was just checking the mail.
Always been, he was never out of the closet officially. Even before the documentary aired, nobody knew he was gay until the trailer for this came out.
Come on,
but
we all know.
When that happened 10 years later, he had to clear his name, and he eventually did. The accusations for child porn eventually became fit. They realized it was a false claim, so he got off on that. But the media they already has this stench in the air of Pee-wee Herman's into a lot of weird and crazy shit. It's kind of hard to erase that from the media. And in 2011, Pee-wee returns to public. He actually starts going on late night television show in character, and then he meets up with Judd Apatow, and they make the movie that I'm going to review in a minute called Pee-wee's Big Holiday that came out on Netflix. But he died in 2023 of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knew about it. It was lung cancer, and it spread to other parts of his body, but he ended up succumbing to it. But yeah, private battle. Didn't let anybody. A couple of friends know he was good friends with David Arquette. I can't remember her name, but she was in a bunch of 90s movies and TV. She was in Entourage. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I recommend if you want to know anything about him, or even if you just want to watch a great documentary, watch these 2 parts. They're very, very good. Kind of long. I think it was about 3.5, maybe close to 4 hours total.
Damn.
But yeah, it was good. Lots to, and like I mentioned, it was him within the last couple of years talking to the camera, talking to the documentary guy about his life. It was really cool. Pee-wee's Big Holiday came out on Netflix in 2016, and I did not watch it at the time. Starred him and Joe Manganiello,
yep,
who was in True Blood, of course. He was in Magic Mike and whatever else he was in. He's been in a bunch of shit, but starred the 2 of them and a whole bunch of guest stars too. It was a good movie. Kind of brought you back to nostalgia for Pee-wee, of course. If you liked Pee-wee's Big Adventure, and even if you like the TV show, kind of a nostalgia of everything. So really, really cool movie.
Nice.
If you're into that. So we are about 6 weeks away, Kevin.
From what? Oh, right.
Death.
That's coming out.
We are.
Superman's coming out now.
Superman is coming out on July 11th, and we are just a couple days away from June 1st, so not much longer.
Indeed.
So this week we are in the 90s. Last week we tackled Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman, and the biggest thing from the 90s in comic books
Mm.
was the death of Superman.
Now, before we
This-
get into this, was this the first comic you read?
This was the first comic that I bought in the
That you bought,
store
okay.
that I read. 1992. I bought the trade paperback, which I gave you the copy of at Christmas. And it was like, the reason why I bought it is because it was promoted everywhere.
Right.
It was in media, it was in newspapers, it was in magazines, it was on the news. It was like, how dare they? Why are they killing Superman? He is like, if you put all these iconic characters in American lexicon,
Mhm.
Mickey Mouse and Superman are the top two, and you're killing off one of them.
Mhm.
So it was huge news in America, and this is the cover art of Superman 75 in a black bag with a red Superman symbol dripping in blood. We're going to get into that in a minute, but this all started off as a joke. After Crisis of Infinite Earths, the comic book industry was kind of in a lull, and they're like, "What can we do?"
Putting it lightly.
What can we do? And they're like, well, why don't we just kill the motherfucker? And they're like, wait a minute. That may actually be the time to do it. Let's do that. And they pulled the plug on it, and they fucking did it. They consulted with Jerry Siegel, the only one of the creators who were still alive in the early 90s. He gave his blessing, and it so ended up happening. In December of 1992, it began. The Death of Superman arc lasted 7 issues. And it ended in October of 1997. The whole entire run, the death, the funeral for a friend, the reign of Superman, we'll get into in a minute, and the return of Superman lasted just a little bit under a year. Superman number 75 was the actual issue where he died, and it sold out in the first few days, bringing in a total of $30 million in his first day of sales. Total, they ended up making 6 million. Ended up selling 6 million copies total, which is huge for a comic book. It made front page coverage of every newspaper magazine. Most notably, it was on the front page of Newsday with a big picture of I think the Superman cape on the flag symbol, which is the cover, which I'm going to get into here in a minute. Actually, get into it right now. This is the trade paperback on the left. And those are the 7 issues of Doomsday versus Superman, with the last one being the flag of Superman's cape over where the battle took place, where he succumbed to his life. This was a limited edition. That was Superman number 75. This is the limited edition version of that. Looked like a tombstone. It came in a black bag, like I mentioned, and a whole bunch of extra cool extras. Came with a fake Daily Planet obituary for Superman. Came with a black armband, which people wore during the funeral for Superman. Came with some stamps and a few other cool things, a poster. And let me see what else we got. Started off, this is where they first met. This is where Superman and Doomsday first fought. Superman gets punched by Doomsday, doesn't take the hit, and then Doomsday just goes around and kicks him through a house. This is great. Some great art, some great 90s stuff. A lot of when I was reading this week, I hadn't read it in almost 25 years. So it brought nostalgia right back. I mentioned to you off pod that being a fan of nostalgia sucks when you have eBay.
Yeah,
because
it really does.
You can do nostalgia jumps very easily with money on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is another iconic shot. This has been made into action figures and statues and everything of them punching each other and fighting. I like this mural of this is pretty much them throughout the whole entire battle. That's Doomsday on the beginning on the left, going to the very last blow on the right. We'll get into a little bit here and there, but this is Superman kind of saying, Lois, I got to take care of this. I got to beat this Doomsday. I got to save Metropolis. He flies off, and Lois is trying to tell him, wait, hold on. Well, he goes, attacks Doomsday with the light beams out of his eyes, laser beams, whatever you want to call them. I like that art. And this is the final death punch. Both of them punch each other at the same time, knocking each other unconscious and dead. And that is the iconic scene in the last. I think it was a triple fold at the end of the comic book of this whole entire scene played out at the end, where Superman dies and Doomsday died as well. So after that happens, there's a funeral for a friend. Lasted about 8 issues, I believe. I think there was an epilogue too, but this is basically the story of what the heroes, what the citizens of Metropolis and the world how are they going to react to when their hero, the biggest hero of the world, dies. They have a state funeral for him. They put this big, huge monument and memorial tomb for him in the middle of Metropolis. And it's made out of gold. Everybody knows that. There's actually figures and statues of that as well. Mm-hmm. And then there's a couple of tie-ins I wanted to mention too. News Time was a magazine in DC Comics. It was in canon. They actually created a fake issue of News Time magazine that came out around this time in May of 1993, a couple months after the issue where he died. And they had ads for Metropolis like that one of Lex Air. So there's a whole bunch of cool ads. I think there's a Wayne Tech in there too. There's interviews with celebrities like Bruce Wayne and Shaq was one of them. I think maybe I can't remember. There's another one too, a Star Trek one, but I can't remember who it was. But yeah, I mean, this is what when Clark Kent was working for News Time magazine. This is kind of a clip of that from the 60s, 70s. I can't tell what year that was. Mm-hmm. But, this is another thing that came out. It was kind of like a National Enquirer, National Whisperer. It's another viral promotion that came out, a little flyer. And then a couple months later, the coffin has been opened, and Superman is nowhere to be seen. Where the fuck is he? Well, then there are 4 different Supermen.
Yes.
Trying to vie out to be the next Superman. You got Superboy, who had changed his outfit into this cool outfit with the jacket on.
He looks like the red and blue Blur from Smallville.
Yes, exactly. And this has been copied so many times up until Superman and Lois last year.
Yep.
We got the Eradicator, and who ends up being the Eradicator. I think at this time he was called the Last Son of Krypton. You got Steel, John Henry Irons, I believe his name is.
Who's a big part of Superman and Lois.
Yep. And you got Cyborg Superman, who claims that he's part Superman, part cyborg. But it's all farce. And I think he's pretty much the coolest part of this, but he's also the villain of the whole project.
Right.
And those are the 4 issues where they kind of debuted. They were die cut issues where the symbol of Superman was die cut. You opened up the comic book and you actually saw them on the other side. These are the 4 pictures on the bottom you'd see on the right there of the character's debut. And then, like a few months later, another Superman shows up. This time, you find out that this one is sitting in the Fortress of Solitude, watching everything going on at his temple, watching everything on monitors. And to come to find out, this is the real Superman. They even find that out early on. Mm-hmm. But his powers are weakened. The death obviously killed him. He was resurrecting. So the Fortress of Solitude, all the robots put him into this super suit that tried to get him to resurrect faster through I think I have notes on this. I want to talk about it, but his intense healing process from resurrection accelerated his hair growth, creating the iconic 1993 super mullet. He had a big, huge mullet, and he ended up having it up until a few years after that. But the Kryptonian regeneration matrix kept him alive after death and in stasis until the suit was put on him by the Fortress robots, which we're going to be seeing in Superman in a couple of weeks. Worn in times where his power is weakened, the recovery suit grants some protection and absorbs solar energy to accelerate his regeneration and healing process. So in other words, it just helped him regenerate, helped him be done faster so he could be stronger. But he also didn't have enough strength to fly sometimes, so he had rocket boosters, as you can see on the left there, put into the suit to help him fly when he couldn't do it on his own. Let's see, where are we at? The whole battle happens. Who's going to reign supreme as the Superman? That was the big thing. Who's going to be the new Superman? And they defeat Cyborg Superman. Actually, he does. Punches him through the chest, vibrates at quick speed, and just disintegrates him into millions of pieces. And that's how Cyborg Superman gets killed in the comic book. And then he grabs his cape, gets his red and blue suit back, and he dons the cape one more time to become Superman. Superman 505, I believe, is the issue where he comes back. The one on the right there, I remember getting in the newsstand. I saw that for the first time. I was like, holy fuck, that's awesome. But yeah, this is huge. I mean, as a kid in this era, seeing this, it's just gigantic, huge. with all the news happening, with all of this, just everything, the media storm that was going on. And where was Clark Kent during all of this? Well, he ended up coming back as well, and he had to wear a ponytail because Superman has a mullet now. A couple of years later, Superman and Lois get married in 1996 to coincide with the marriage of Lois and Clark in Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman, which always was the plan. The wedding of Clark and Lois had been planned in 1991, was pushed back because of the death of Superman's story to 1996. It was going to coincide with the TV wedding of Lois and Clark, Dean Cain, and Terry Hatcher. That was all a DC Warner Brothers thing. They wanted to have continuity between the TV and everything, every media thing. So when the fourth season happened to Lois and Clark, this wedding happened. He ended up cutting his hair back to normal, cut off the mullet. And then in 1997, a year later, they rebuilt the character into this. A big, huge lightning mess. He gets thrown into the sun, and he's overpowered by the sun. So he has to put on this suit to kind of keep the powers at bay. But it also gives him brand new powers of energy, pure energy, all held at bay by this super suit. And his powers include phasing, so he can go through things, energy blast absorption, energy manipulation, shields, magnetism, teleportation, tractor beams, EMP, appearance altering, shape shifting. He can change his clothes, his size, overall look. He can create portals and the power to shut it on and off. But when he turns it off, he's 100% human in human form as Clark, including the human vulnerability, so he can get killed very easily when he's not Superman. And that's where I stopped reading. This is like
we just covered Ray's entire history of reading the comics.
Yeah, well,
Until
at least
recently.
in the 90s. Yeah, at least in the 90s, because this is kind of where it fell off for a lot of people because it got weird.
Yeah.
As you can see, Superman got weird. He got blue and he got glowing. This cover was actually a glow in the dark cover, but so we're gonna fast forward out of the comics a little bit before we get into news and talk about this.
It's funny. Okay, so I did not know we were gonna cover this. I don't believe I knew we were gonna cover this. And I actually just watched this like 3 nights ago.
You did the documentary.
I fucking love this documentary. I don't know why I watched it, but I was like, I'm going to throw it on while I was actually reading the comic. I read it in 2 nights. I watched this one night and the Batman the other while reading the comic. But yeah, this documentary is fantastic.
Yeah, I didn't watch it this time. I've watched it before a couple
of
years.
Oh yeah, we've both seen it tons of times, I feel like.
Yeah. I think we may have talked about it on the podcast. I can't remember.
Probably.
But yeah, this was going to be Tim Burton's next movie after Batman Returns. Came back to DC. Kevin Smith wrote the script for it. Superman Lives. But it went into pre-production. He even tested for the suit, as you can see. But as it went on and on and on, eventually got canceled. Don't remember the logistics of it. You just watched the documentary. Maybe you can give a quick reaction to that, what I just said. But
yeah, they just couldn't get it off the ground, so they just killed it.
Yep, literally, Superman couldn't get off the ground, which is a problem.
Yeah.
So yeah, everybody left the project, including Nicolas Cage, Tim Burton, and then they didn't make another movie for another 10 years.
I don't know if this would have been a good. I don't know if Tim Burton style. I'm not the biggest Tim Burton fan, anyways, as you know. Right. I don't know how that would have worked with Superman. It works good with Batman because of the gothicness of it, but with Superman, I just like this might have been more divisive than Man of Steel was, to be honest. I mean, but then again, it was at a completely different time, also, so it's hard to say one way or the other. Yeah,
you got to remember what was going on in DC at the time. You had Batman and Robin.
Yep.
Yeah, Batman Forever. A lot of campy, weird comic book shit was going on. And this is going to tackle a lot of the stuff that I just talked about. It was going to tackle the death of Superman, the resurrection of Superman. It was also going to have like electrical powers too, I believe. A lot of weird shit was going to happen in this movie. It was going to tackle everything that was going on in the comics, but under Tim Burton's watch, it would have been weird.
Would have been very interesting.
Yeah, it would have been interesting, but very weird. So that's it for Superman in the 90s. And then next month, we got a jam-packed month because we're going to go into the 2000s. And there are a few things that we need to talk about. One of them is, actually, we'll get into it at the end because I think I have a whole list of everything and I don't want to miss it. But the big thing is there's a new movie. They start a new franchise with Bryan Singer. And there are a few other things that we're going to tackle next month too that we'll get into. But with that being said, let's get into the news. And it's not a news segment with a trailer around it. Just a couple of trailers, nothing much this week. Seth Rogen, Aziz Ansari, Keanu Reeves playing an angel in a movie called Good Fortune. Comes out October 17th. I don't know if you saw the trailer for this. It looked pretty funny. Keanu Reeves plays an angel going to Earth, and Aziz Ansari is the guy that he's going to kind of be the guardian angel over.
I like Aziz a lot, even though he was kind of semi-canceled, maybe, question mark. So I'll probably check this out.
Right. He wrote and directed this, so yeah.
Good.
A trailer came out today called The Home, starring Pete Davidson. It's a horror movie, not a comedy movie. It's definitely a horror movie.
Nice.
Comes out July 25th in theaters. Trailer came out today. Yeah, like I mentioned, not a lot of trailers this week, but that's what we got. Box office did gangbusters last week, and it was all behind Lilo and Stitch.
Yep. That movie's making all the monies.
The 3-day weekend, it made $145 million. Mission Impossible made $63 million. Not too shabby. A lot of people are calling it a failure, especially for the budget, but I don't know. I think it'll do fine because it did internationally okay too. Final Destination made another $19 million. Lilo and Stitch ended up making $341 million globally in the opening Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah,
it only had a budget of $100 million, so yeah, huge numbers. And record Memorial Day weekend overall domestically, 183 million broke the record for Memorial Day weekend.
That's insane.
Yeah. I never saw the original. Everybody says I should that I talk about this and say I haven't seen it. I do want to watch it. I think I want to watch this too. I think I may start with a cartoon, but we'll see. Rest in peace to Rick Derringer. Rock star. Didn't know anything about him until this week, but he did a lot of wrestling themes, including singing and doing the guitar work on Real American for Hulk Hogan.
And he did the, I believe, is he the guy that did the Ultimate Warrior theme? I can't remember if he's the guy that they had another guy working for him. Themes. I don't know. Yeah.
They did a lot of themes, but yeah, rest in peace to him. In wrestling, another wrestling story, my favorite wrestling story this week. This whole thing with Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis and this girl that claimed that there was sexual stuff going on behind the scenes. Well, John Laurinaitis agreed to cooperate and provide evidence against Vince McMahon to this Janelle Grant. And he was going to provide the evidence if he could be dropped out of the lawsuit. And that's exactly what happened this week. He settled out of the lawsuit. So he became somebody who's going to be speaking.
He became a witness, basically, right?
Yeah, a witness. Yeah,
I forget what they're called, but yeah, he's been granted immunity to basically tell all.
Really just blanked.
Yes.
Yeah, he's gonna tell all, and it's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out. But I never thought Laurinaitis would turn on McMahon. Never thought that ever.
I mean, look at what he's facing. Honestly, look at what he's facing.
Right. Yeah. Wheel of Time, a show on Prime I've never watched, always heard I should watch.
Yeah.
Got canceled.
Didn't Adam like it? Your friend Adam?
Adam.
Was he the one that was a fan of it?
I don't remember if Adam liked it or not.
Right.
But a few people I've heard liked it a lot. I know it's based off a book series, but other than that, I don't know much about it. Sci-fi. But yeah, I got canceled. Not surprising because I didn't even know anything about it. Studio ended last week. Great show, Seth Rogen. And he says for season 2, he really wants Daniel Day-Lewis to come out of retirement and star in an episode of the studio. Well, he already has an idea for it. And
I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis is allegedly coming out of retirement to do a movie with his son, right?
With his son, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So maybe he will, or it says please consider a Zoom call with us. Maybe we could just do a Zoom call with him in the show or something. I don't know.
Right, it depends on how serious Daniel Day-Lewis really is. If he wants to take this all tongue in cheek,
they got what's his name in the very first episode there, so I can see Daniel Day-Lewis possibly, depending on what the idea is, doing it. Or maybe they could be like, why don't you just let us know what you want to do? Like, we'll work with you that way. But
he said he already has an idea, and he asked him publicly to consider Zooming with him so they could talk it over. So we'll see about that. trailer has not come out yet as we record, but there's a new poster, new movie starring Pete Davidson and Eddie Murphy called Pickup. Gonna be on Amazon Prime on August 6th. I don't know. This looks like something that came out of Eddie Murphy in the late 90s, early 2000s.
1,000%. Yep.
Looks the trailer, the pictures, the poster, everything. But yeah, Kiki Palmer's in there as well, Eva Longoria. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. It looks like Metro and all those other Eddie Murphy movies from 2000. But got a new poster for Gen V. We're gonna get a trailer for that this weekend. We'll talk about next week. But we got a new poster for it coming out sometime soon. We'll probably get a date for that as well. And this week was big for Harry Potter. We got the 3 new stars of Harry Potter. The kid actors are going to be in this show for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Dominic McLaughlin, Alistair Stout, and Arabella Stanton. All cast as the kids, the 3 main kids of the Harry Potter franchise, Hermione, Ron, and Harry. Yeah, and the internet doing their thing. Hopefully not
good old Twitter. People are like going to these kids' Instagrams and shaming them and doing all sorts of weird, wild stuff. Some of the people I've seen from certain side of DC fans are doing that to these kids, and I'm like, are you guys just that miserable? Like, are people that miserable where you have to look into like fucking 12-year-old kids like Instagram pages? God, I hate
it's become a holiday. It's become a Hollywood thing now to say
to shit on things.
Kids at all. Well, to protect these kids at all costs.
Oh yeah,
whatever celebrities saying.
You really gotta,
because they have big shoes to fill. And those movies, one of the biggest blockbuster franchises, replacing all of the actors in it, there's going to be backlash no matter what. Because people are so in love with those films. But, I'm excited. For a long term storytelling of Harry Potter, we're talking 10 hours a season. That's going to be incredible.
The thing that's weird, though, is most streaming things take like 2 years to release. So are they going to just keep filming like throughout the year for 10 years, basically?
Possibly, yeah.
Is that what they're going to probably try to do? Probably take like a 2-month break?
If they don't stop,
the kids will age out.
Not only that, John Lithgow's in like 77. If they keep going, they got to go and go and go.
I hate saying this, but he's probably going to have to get recast for the last couple seasons.
Maybe they had to do it for the movies because of the other guys. So PlayStation Plus has some new games coming out, and the big one was 2K25 NBA, which I may get because we were talking a lot about NBA.
That's the game that you can play in the 80s. Remember that?
Oh, that's cool.
You take on you can be any of the teams that existed in the 80s. Starts like the 83 Celtics and work your way up, which is kind of cool because we just went through that period. And I mean, it's free if you have that tier, so why not? Yeah,
definitely going to get that. On the 78th annual Tony Awards, which we never talk about on this podcast unless it's Hamilton. The original cast of Hamilton for their 10th anniversary is going to be showing up performing on the Tony Awards.
Mm-hmm.
So you're damn skippy that this guy right here is going to be watching that because I'm a huge Hamilton fan.
Really? I love that movie. Hadn't noticed.
Do you want me to sing? Do you want me to sing, Kevin?
I'd prefer you not to sing, thanks. I've seen you do karaoke.
Yeah. So this weekend we got 2 things happening. We got Netflix Tadum and CCXP happening in Mexico. And we're going to be getting a lot of reveals, like I mentioned, from Gen V. We're going to get a trailer probably for Knives Out 3, One Piece Season 2, which we didn't watch that. Peacemaker Season 2, probably first look. We're definitely getting a trailer for Stranger Things, and we're going to get something for Dexter Resurrection, probably a trailer.
And
I
have a question.
Wednesday,
So if Peter Dinklage, who was in Dexter Resurrection, if he gets put on the table, is he going to use like a coffee table?
Is he going to use a paring knife?
I can't wait for that show. July 11th is already jam-packed.
July 11th, July period is packed from beginning to end. But yeah, we'll talk about it going forward. But another popcorn bucket for Karate Kid Legends. The movie is getting terrible reviews. Came out today, I believe.
Yep.
Or tomorrow because it's Thursday recording.
Yeah, they fucked up by not having it connect to Cobra Kai.
Right. Yeah. I don't wonder why they decided not to, but another popcorn bucket with a wood chopping effect where it opens up the bucket and opens up for popcorn.
That's kind of cool though. I get it.
Yeah, kind of cool. Another custom popcorn bucket for Megan Part 2.0 coming out as the Alamo Drafthouse exclusive. And Superman all the time. Popcorn buckets, cups, and everything else coming out in the theaters. But let's talk about some other swag.
Swag. Stuff we all get.
Come on, son. You know that's right.
We got collars and coffee cups and lanyards and shirts and light up wall fixtures and cups and duffel bags and mugs and the whole enchilada of shit coming out for this movie. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. I saw some school stuff I didn't put on here, but there's backpacks and everything else.
Oh, yeah.
We got figures. We got Ultraman. We got Deluxe Ultraman. We got Deluxe Lex Luthor. We got this awesome deluxe figure of Metamorpho with all of his powers. Looks really, really cool. We got some brand new pop figures too. The release pictures of all the side characters, including Guy Gardner.
I just got the new Mr. Terrific. Mr. Terrific just started the new year one run, and first issue came out yesterday, so I picked that up. I can't wait to read it.
Also a battle damaged Superman, and there was also the Metamorpho with baby what's his
Joey.
name? Baby Joey.
Joey.
Yep. Where are we at? Oh, and Fudge Stripes. Keebler cookies coming out with Superman exclusive cookies. Let's get into some Superman. Let's get into some weird Superman news. We'll start off with this news first. Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie want to bring back Les Grossman from Tropic Thunder. They have an actual serious movie idea for this, and they're having serious conversations about it. Be interested to see that. Speaking of Christopher McQuarrie, the Superman part of this all, he was going to direct a Superman. Do you remember the timeline of this? A Man of Steel 2 when this was going to happen?
This was pitched in late 2018, early 2019, I believe, because I think 2018 is when the Mission Impossible movie came out. I think this was pitched right around that time, probably right after that movie left theaters. He probably had a meeting with them. So
Snyder was already done with it. He had already left after Justice League. So this is kind of after Justice League where they were going. So as far as I know, Green Lantern would have appeared in the movie. Included a 5-minute opening sequence. He said similar to the movie Disney's Up, which would have set up the stage for the film and who Superman is as a character. Henry Cavill would have returned and would have continued his story as Superman. And it would have been a very emotional story. He said a lot of it sounded cool, but he also talked about the legacy of the character and talked about how it's not held down by the John Williams theme and by the Donner movies. It's not. It's kind of, it can be something separate from that. So he was gonna make something totally different in other words. And it seems like James Gunn's going the opposite direction of that. But we'll have to wait and see. He also said that Green Lantern was going to be a part of it, and he suddenly realized how they had amazing similarities, which also allowed for amazing conflict and amazing.
Because I remember it was around this time too that Tom Cruise was rumored for Green Lantern. So he definitely would have been Green Lantern, I feel like, in this pitch. But the whole thing is like people are complaining. They're saying that the WB stole the script and gave it to James Gunn, and James Gunn's just doing whatever with the script, just like Matt Reeves stole the Batman script, blah, blah, blah. But Christopher McQuarrie made a pitch, and the way Hollywood is you cannot write a script unless you get hired to write a script for an IP like Superman. So, no, there was never any screenplay. There was never any script. He literally pitched it, and they said no thanks, because I think leadership at that time just wanted to get away from Henry Cavill. I do think the tone would have been a cross between Henry Cavill and what we're getting. I think it would have been not like Man of Steel and what we're going to be getting. I think it would have been more lighthearted than Man of Steel. It would have been more of a traditional Superman. I don't know if Lois would have even been involved, because with Green Lanterns in it, most of it could have happened. A lot of it could have happened in space, or a good portion of it. So I don't know where they were going to go with it. But it's interesting because I do remember them talking about the rumors of him pitching it and WB turning it down. But they were just trying to get away from Snyder at that point.
It's always a what if situation in Hollywood. It would have been interesting. But the Batman 2, is it ever happening? We're not sure. Showrunner Lauren LaFranc says that other than the other Batman spinoffs that are rumored or that may be happening are going to be in the early stages of development. They're still in development. especially after the Penguin was such a success for HBO. I'm not surprised.
Yep.
HBO is probably pushing them hard for something like this. I guess we'll see what happens. I think everything kind of lies on what happens with Superman and Peacemaker, really. I know Peacemaker season 1 was so big for them. I think season 2 will probably be big for them as well. And Superman, it's just everything lies on that movie.
Yep.
It's not. It's just if it's good, if it kind of puts a direction of where we're going to go with the franchise going forward. All depends on that movie. So we'll have to wait and see. Speaking of Superman, we do get some pictures from Wonderland magazine of Corn Sweat.
It looks like the VHS cover of an 80s buddy cop movie.
It does. It definitely looks like they're coming out of the General Lee from Dukes of Hazzard.
Exactly. Yep. That's what I was thinking.
But yes, the damn Duke boys are at it again. But yeah, I cannot wait for this movie. Also coming out in China. This is big news just because it's going to up the box office overall. They weren't sure. It was announced this week by James Gunn that yes, they are definitely going to China. So going to make some money. Got some first look pictures from Peacemaker season 2. And why is what's his name deep throating the bottle of beer? That's my question. I don't know.
Freddie Stroma?
Yeah, Vigilante. I can't remember his name.
I don't know. He's just having a good time.
And Michael Rooker, they announced it was going to be playing Red Saint Wild in season 2, and he's going to be Eagly's nemesis in the movie.
Nice.
We already in the TV show. We already saw him in the trailer. He was kind of with an angelic glow around him, and the big fire. It was kind of cool. So yeah, I cannot wait for this show.
Me too.
Takes place 2 years after season 1. Has a new opening dance sequence. They're going to debut this weekend in Mexico. Michael Rooker's character is hunting Eagly. We're going to be getting a new look at everything at San Diego Comic-Con. So it was announced that DC is going to San Diego Comic-Con. The TV show is going to tie directly to what happens in Superman. It's also going to tie into whatever's going to happen next. And other DC characters will appear. And James Gunn is teasing one really big cameo at the end of this show. What is your speculation of what the cameo is going to be? You think it's Supergirl? It's the next thing coming.
I hope. Well, the next thing coming is Lanterns, but
is that coming first? I wasn't sure the timeline.
That's allegedly James Gunn went over the timeline. He put that ahead of Supergirl, so I assume that's coming in like February.
Okay.
So I could see it being one of the Lanterns. I'm hoping it's something like Green Arrow, or Booster Gold. I don't think it will be, but it would be nice if we got some updates on Green Arrow because I do love that character, and want him in this universe badly. I mean, it could just be Superman, but more than likely, it's probably a Lantern or a Supergirl.
I could see Guy Gardner fucking up royally,
and
getting his Green Lantern ring revoked, and seeing the Lantern Corps coming in and grabbing his ring, as you saw in the Death of Superman comic book. At that point, Guy Gardner lost his Green Lantern.
I could see too. Maybe it's because the Lantern show is about them investigating something on Earth, so maybe Kyle Rayner comes in and he ends up at some point during Peacemaker disappearing or something like that, to set up Lanterns, or whatever happens in Lanterns could be. I don't know. Really could be anyone. He has a lot of toys to play with in the sandbox.
Oh, you know what? I read this wrong. The Peacemaker credit stance is going to be shown at the San Diego Comic-Con, not this weekend.
Yes, I meant to correct you on that because I just saw a video on it.
And James Gunn confirmed that the quantum folding chamber that we saw in the Peacemaker trailer is going to play a role in Superman as well. And I think we saw kind of a glimpse of that too in the trailer for Superman. These little portals into pocket universes. Very, very cool. Cannot wait. Speaking of DC, speaking of Marvel, first time in 20 years, DC Comics and Marvel Comics are coming together for a crossover between two of their major characters. And that would be Deadpool and Batman. This hasn't happened in, I think, 22 years. And they're coming out, DC's coming out with one comic and Marvel's coming out with another one. Very, very cool. Reminds me of the old past days of Marvel and DC. So yeah. Where are we at? Here. Avengers Doomsday. Looks like the title changed, looking more like Doomsday's costume colors, but I don't know. Nothing official on that yet, but we'll have to wait and see. Speaking of merchandise, Fantastic Four getting just as much merchandise. Retro Tricks boxes, Pop-Tarts. Go over to Little Caesars if there's any. I don't think there's any around here anymore.
No.
But they have all the Fantastic Four characters on their boxes. Pop-Tart one looks really cool. Bringing back Blue Raspberry for the first time in a few years. So, Ironheart show comes out next month. Not getting a lot of traction, but yeah, got a new picture of the two characters from Ironheart, Dominique and Anthony Ramos. Carrie Condon, who was just in Skeleton Crew. I believe she was in one of the Bly Manors, Netflix, The Haunting of Bly Manor. She's going to be playing Friday, the human form of Friday in Vision Quest. She voiced the character in, I believe it was Spider-Man. No, it was Avengers Age of Ultron. Friday, she voiced that character. So she's coming back in live action to play that character in live action. So, got some brand new looks at Eyes of Wakanda. The animated series coming out, I believe, in August. 4-part animated anthology. Follows the warriors throughout Wakandan history who are tasked to travel the world retrieving dangerous vibranium artifacts. I'm wondering if they're going to tackle way back in the past when the vibranium asteroid hits Earth. I wonder if that'll be tackled too. But kind of excited for that. Everybody's saying the animation looks cool. I mean, the pictures look cool, so we'll have to wait and see. Came out today, brand new covers for Empire. Empire, Fantastic Four, all of them, and then a really cool HD glimpse of Silver Surfer and with the Galactics looking over Earth. Looks really cool. Got a new glimpse of Reed Richards as well in his laboratory for his Fantastic Science show. Also got some new figures for Fantastic Four with better look of Shallow Ball, Silver Surfer, and all the characters as well. I'm not sure who's making those, but yeah. And finally, in news, big rumor for Spider-Man is that Mark Ruffalo is joining the cast of Spider-Man as Savage Hulk. Sony has to have at least one Avengers character. And
I hate that. I hate that.
Why is
so
that?
much.
But it's
Why is that?
Part of the story.
He doesn't need. It's fucking stupid. Like we got an entire trilogy, and he really wasn't even the main. Like he had a mentor the entire time. I hate that.
Well,
it's dumb. And to have the Hulk in something that I was hoping would be street level, I also do not like.
We're not sure. This is all internet speculation, so we'll have to wait and see. But somebody has to be there. We'll have to see. I mean, they're in New York. It could easily be somebody in New York. I could see Daredevil be a part of it. I think Kingpin. I don't know what the rights on that all are. I think that would have been a better choice for this, but yeah. That's it for the show this week. Next week, Show and Tell, beginning of the month. Mobland season 1 finale. Murderbot comes out on Fridays. Episode 4 and 5. I'll tackle that. Tires debuts on the 5th. I'll talk about that. Karate Kid Legends, probably not going to watch that, but we are going to see next week. We're going to talk about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I think we're going to go what next Wednesday, you said, or next week sometime.
Possibly, yeah. If you want to go Wednesday,
Possibly.
we can do that.
Yep. Maybe we can do that. And then we got the month of June. On the 6th, Predator Killer of Killers comes out on Hulu. This is the animated Predator show. Looks really, really cool. We'll talk about that. In movie theaters on the 6th, Life of Chuck. This is Hiddleston. Can't remember who directed it. I don't remember the director off the top of my head. It's a big guy, big name guy too. And Ballerina comes out that day as well. Worldwide Developer Conference for Apple is on the 9th, talking about all the software announcements. I'll talk about that. On the 13th, How to Train Your Dragon, the live action version comes out. On the 15th, The Bear season 4 all drops on Hulu. Cannot wait for that. On the 20th, 28 years later, around that time, I'm going to be reviewing and watching for the very first time 28 Days and 28 Weeks Later, which you're telling me is a great set of movies.
The first one's great, yeah. Second one's very good too. I just haven't watched it a lot. I've seen the first one like 100 times.
Okay. On the 24th, Ironheart on Disney Plus. On the 27th, Squid Game season 3, the final season of that debuts, as well as Megan 2.0 and F1, which it looks great. And the Road to Fantastic Four, we got to tackle the Rise of the Silver Surfer, the second movie of the Tim Story movies, came out in 2007. And the year of Superman, going out in a blaze of glory. In the 2000s, we're going to talk about Smallville. That's where we're going to start probably next week. We'll get into some episodes of Smallville. Probably going to watch probably 4.
Definitely the pilot. We got to talk about the pilot.
We'll talk about the pilot, episode 100.
The best episodes of TV ever.
The pilot, episode 100 and the
yep.
finale.
Yep.
And the finale. Why don't we tackle
those 3?
episodes?
That sounds good. I'll start tonight because I've been wanting to watch the pilot for like weeks.
Yeah,
So
we'll talk about those. We're also, next week after that, we're going to talk about Superman Returns. Next week after that, we got to get into a few things. I don't know how we want to tackle this. We got 4 weeks of the month. We got Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman. And we also want to talk. I wanted to watch the whole reason for this watch is I wanted to watch Brightburn. I've been putting this movie off for a while. This is James Gunn produced movie. But what happened if Superman became evil in Smallville when he was a child? And I do want to watch that. We'll throw that in there somewhere between all this. And the other thing that you mentioned was a Selling Superman documentary, which we need to watch this month sometime.
I got to figure out where we can watch it.
It's $11 on iTunes if you actually want to pay for it.
Oh, really? Okay.
If you can find it, yeah. Either way.
Okay. Cool.
And then the first week, I think it's July 4th actually, of July, we're gonna do the last thing that we're gonna do before the movie is a side-by-side comparison of Justice League and the Zack Snyder's Justice League. So we got a jam-packed 5 weeks leading up to Superman. I'm hoping we can tackle all of this easily, but yeah, it's going to be a busy couple of weeks here. Thank you, everyone, and we will talk to you next week. Peace out.
We're the Geek Blurb crew, here to enlighten you, talking all things geeky from movies to wrestling to our podcast is the place where you want to be for all the latest news and nostalgia from the 80s and 90s. We review comic book flicks and sci-fi hits, riding the wave of action movies with all the cool bits. From Iron Man to Star Wars, we cover it all. And when it comes to wrestling, we never drop the ball. Geek Blurb, we're the kings of the nerds, rating movies and pineapples, our opinions never blurred. Join us each week for a geeky chat with the latest news and a dose of nostalgia that. So if you're a fan of the comic book craze, or a lover of sci-fi